Welcome to the DMPC Behind the Camera series. My name is Sam Ferris, manager at the DMPC here in Los Angeles. And in this episode, we're going to learn about Technicolor look collection, what are LUTs, and how to create your own ART files with a Sony RAW viewer. Some special guests from our friends at Technicolor are here to talk about 3D LUTs and also the new ART files. We're also joined by Simon Marsh, product manager, as well as Dan Perry, who is sales and business development at Sony, as well as two special guests from Technicolor. We have Jason Fabro, colorist at Technicolor, as well as Robert Rodriguez, who is the director of technology at Technicolor. So let me introduce these guys one by one here. We have Dan Perry. Come on over, Dan. All right.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Dan. Welcome back, man. Welcome back to season 2 now.
Yeah, we need more seasons. Yeah, I always need more seasons.
We always need more seasons of everything. And then we have Simon Marsh here, who's going to be showing us RAW Viewer, as well as how to create an ART file from a LUT. So, and how to import that into the to the Venice. Of course, you guys already know how to do that. And then we have Robert Rodriguez here, who is the director of technology at Technicolor, and who also was an integral part in this very complex process. It's been taking us, a couple months to work on this project, but we are finally at the very end of it. And this week we will have those LUTs for you on Sony Cine so that you can all download the LUTs that we're going to show you today. And then we have a colorist who actually created one of the set of LUTs that are the part of the Technicolor look collection that will be available to all of you at no charge, so that you can import those into your Venice cameras. So welcome, Jason, welcome, Robert, and Sam, Simon, and Dan.
Hey, Sam, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming back. Robert, you were with us before when this was just an idea, and we were just talking about, how we're going to implement the 3D LUTs from Technicolor, but now they're actually real. We've shot footage, we've done the, you guys have went back into the cooking room and created these great LUTs for us. So thank you for all the hard work that you guys have been doing.
Yeah, of course. As a labor of love, Jason's actually sitting in one of the cooking rooms right now as we speak.
I see
when
that.
The magic happens. But
that's what we do the cooking back here.
Nice.
That was
baking in. That's where you're baking in the LUTs, right?
Yes. Can you see the steam coming off of everything behind?
I see it.
It's just simmering over there. It's nice.
So should we start kind of with a brief explanation of the whole project, or Simon, do you want to kind of take us through what an ART file is and why are we going to use it and how?
Yeah, I can do that, Sam. So I'm just going to share my screen. So if you make me presenter.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, so right. Hello, everybody. So advanced rendering transforms. We announced these in April last year when we announced version 6 was coming to Venice. We delivered version 6 in November, and ART was a key part of that. And ART is basically the backbone of what we're doing with Technicolor look collection. So we've partnered with Technicolor to create the 3D LUTs that we're going to use for generating the ARTs. We're doing ARTs because they give a better performance within the camera. So that's the most important part about the ART, is that it gives an improved quality output for monitoring on set. It also allows us to do HDR outputs in the future if we need to do that. Importantly, we can output not only to the SDI1 and 2 outputs, SDI3 and 4 outputs, we can output to the viewfinder and HD monitor, which was something we couldn't do previously with a lookup table. So ART now supports that. Another benefit is that it's a secure encrypted file. It's a binary file, so it's not readable by opening it into a text viewer. That data is yours when you've created an ART. So if you want to keep it within the production, you have the intellectual control of that. Of course, when you go back into post-production, you would use the 3D cube that you mastered the ART file from. So just as a quick overview of what the ART looks like in application, you can see a quick view of the 3D LUT performance that we were getting with the Venice up to version 5, and then with the ART implementation on the right-hand side with version 6. And you can see that there's a definite improvement on any banding and artifacts that you'll get on the right side.
Now, Simon, just to clarify, this is not in post. This is out of the camera.
This is the output of the camera when you use an ART file within the Venice. So the benefits are, what we were doing up to version 5 in the Venice was we were just using a 3D LUT on the output of the video processing pipeline. Now with an ART, we can actually target each individual video processor within the video pipeline. So we can actually optimize the 1D LUT configuration, the matrices and 3D LUT modules are all optimized within the camera using the ART file. So how do we create an ART file? This is going to be the next step that I'm going to go through. We're going to actually start with a 3D cube. That's the starting foundation for everything. We're going to import that into a RAW viewer, and then we're going to export that as an ART file. And then you just simply load it like you would with a 3D LUT into a Venice. You load an ART file into the Venice using the SD card. So I'm just going to go to the next page, which is here. So,
now, when we're loading it into the Venice, Simon, there's another folder now, right, for it? Because before we had a folder for LUTs and CDLs, and now will there be another folder for ART files?
I'll show you that in a minute. Once I've created it, you'll be able to see the actual folder structure.
Nice.
So first thing you need to start with is go into sonycreativesoftware.com. If you don't have RAW viewer, this is how you get it. So you go to Sony software and then click on it.
Yep.
And it's going to take you down to RAW viewer. This is the application you need to download and install. It's available for Windows and Mac. It's our de facto program for checking RAW files or XOCN files or XAVC files from Sony cameras. So highly recommended that everybody gets this anyway. But once you have that, you can go into the RAW viewer application.
One quick note, Simon. I know that we sometimes get questions about files that aren't behaving when they're putting it through their process. What we always do want to do is go back and look at it there first. That way we rule out if it's an application issue.
Yeah, correct. If there's any sort of processing errors occurring, then we can confirm them in RAW viewer as the recommended application. So what you'll get on RAW viewer, you'll see this is the version 3.5, which is the very latest version. You'll get under Window drop down, you see Art Generator. You open the Art Generator and you'll see this window come up. And then this is what we're going to do to create the actual art files from the input 3D cubes. So you select your input cube here. You just click on this button here, go to where your LUTs are located. And I've got one sample cube in here. I'm just going to open that cube. You can see that the file name has transferred directly across. You can, of course, go in if you wanted to change that. I can make that test sample RRT. Just go with sample. So that automatically follows. And then if you want to now denote where you're going to actually save the file to. So click on here. I'm going to save it to my SD card, and I'm going to save it into the root of the SD card. It's going to create a folder structure from that, but you'll be able to see what's happening. So this is an important step. Next is you define your input color encoding from the actual 3D LUT that you provided for creating the ART. So if you had a sgamut3.cine, you would select this. If it was sgamut3, you would select this. You can also use ACCC or ACCCT LUT files as well if you needed to. But say you actually had an sgamut3 3D LUT provided to you, but the production was saying, but we're shooting everything sgamut3.cine. What you can do with this is you can create a cube from your sgamut3. It's going to do a color space conversion to sgamut3.cine, and it will save that. Then you can then go back to that file and create your ART file for sgamut3.cine, and that's the name that it's going to create for the sgamut3.cine converted file if you needed to do that. Not everybody needs to do it. Obviously, they get the sgamut3.cine correctly in the first time, and it's fine. You don't have to do that. But if you say you wanted an sgamut3.cine, you would check this box here. The next step is the output color encoding. This is what comes out of the SDI, out of the Venice. So if you feed it into a monitor that can automatically detect the ancillary packets and switch to the correct setting, this is what you want to set here. So we have Rec 709, we have PQ, or we have HLG if you're doing HDR. And then output range. A lot of people like legal range outputs, but you can also do full range, and you can control that in this setting here. And then you can actually add a little description to what the file is. So I'm just going to type in, this is a test ART file. And all I'm going to do is simply create art. And it's done that now.
And you've created art right there.
I created art.
Nice.
So what you'll see now is on the SD card, it's created a folder structure here. So we have private, Sony, Pro, camera, MPC 3610, and then in here, you'll see this is the sample r709.art file, and this is the converted color space cube file. So if you wanted to go back in, you could take this file back in through the process and generate a correct sgamut3.cine art file from that. So
Got it.
You needed to do that. Okay, and then once you've saved it, so this is directly, you can load this SD card straight into a Venice now because it's formatted with the complete folder structure. And if you do that, you will see when you load a file, so I've loaded the sample r709.art file here, and you'll see that there's a art info button here. This is the description that I loaded into the art generator. So it says this is a test art file. That will be populated with more relevant information, especially when you're using the Technicolor look collection ARTs, but that's the full step process on how to do this. Okay.
Well, we hope it's relevant information that we provide anyway, right? But a quick thing, Simon, since you're talking about this, and I see the output range on there, and also the color space that you're talking about. I think important to note for everyone that's on this, and I'm sure it's in the literature as well that goes out with them, everything that we created are all based off slog3 sgamut3.cine. So that's all the looks that we have in the collection are all based off of that.
Right, and we're launching it as legal range ART files later this week.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
so it looks like we have a question for you, Simon. Here it says, why only HLG for HDR, not PQ at a specific hard clipped nit value?
We do have PQ option.
It was in there, yeah.
Yes. There's
okay.
PQ and there's HLG, yes.
So there you go, Jeff. We have a PQ option. It's in there.
and I think what would be cool is to make a video on how to do that. I think is that something you think might be in the works, Simon?
That's very close to being released. That's in final QA process right now. And of course, that will go on SonyCine.com as well and social media.
Excellent.
And I would guess you didn't clip it at a specific nit value just so everybody has range. You don't want to have it only at 400. So if somebody wants to go 1,000, then they're.
That's true. Yeah, depending on the project.
Yeah.
Well, let me show. Speaking of Jason here, actually created a really great 3D LUT, and I want to show you guys just kind of a teaser of what to expect later this week when you are able to download it here. Let me. Okay, so I want you guys to check this out because this is just really added on top of an slog file that what Jason created for us.
Yeah, so when I was just basically with those looks, we were given a bunch of various footage at different exposures.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to push it into a particular area where it wasn't going to work on something else. So I spent a little time developing looks that should overlay on a bunch of different exposures and a bunch of different color temperatures. So it should look pretty good on a lot of footage is the intention.
Can I play it back one more time? This is a real quick file. Now that you've said that, I want people to take that into consideration.
Yeah, the intention is just to create looks that will work on a wide range of exposures. If you get too specific, then it's going to break depending on what the environment is. So the thought is this is a good starting point. I mean, if these work out of the box for people, then great. But we can obviously go deeper in that. We could use any of these looks once you come to the post facility. We can expand on those and make it specific to your project based on how you've exposed everything.
Nice. Well, I'm going to ask the audience a question about 3D LUTs and CDLs here. I'm going to, just to kind of get an idea, we're going to launch a poll here for you guys. So how to use 3D LUTs and or CDLs. You can select all that apply, so you don't have to just choose one. It looks like so far we got 100% 3D LUTs in camera. All right. About 86% now. Interesting. Okay. All right, give it one more minute for people to click through, and then we'll show the results. All right. So can you guys see the results?
Yeah.
3D LUTs in camera, 83%. CDLs in camera, 7. 3D LUTs in post, 48%, and then CDLs. So why such a difference, you guys think, between, you know, who uses it in camera and in post?
It's interesting to see the numbers on there. Very much in line though with what we see with clients, and Jason can, I'm sure, speak much better to this. But typically, what we see with on-set color management is you will just build a set of looks that you could just cycle through for, you know, to be the most quick as you can on set. And in some cases, if you have access to a DIT, you have the CDLs plus the look. And then almost always when you get into the color grade, that's used as a reference, but not really used as the starting point. And Jason, would you say that's fairly accurate, or?
Yeah, generally we do even just one LUT for a show, depending on, or a couple looks depending on, you know, interior, exterior, or specific scenes. But it's very few LUTs generally to keep it simple. And then, as Robert said, those usually are just a starting point for what we work off of.
I think that's kind of an important point. I mean, you guys, when we started this discussion, it was really out of feedback from Venice is people wanted to have a LUT library, and that was one of the big requests. And so as we always do, we listen. We're not always able to act immediately, and it took a little bit of time, but that's how this whole project started, was feedback from the market saying, hey, we'd love to have some LUTs. And that was when we kind of reached out, and Technicolor came to mind because of their rich history in filmed in Technicolor and all those things that we've always known, that legendary place that the name holds in the industry. And that's kind of how this whole thing started a little bit ago. And I think it's okay just go in and have Robert talk a little bit about how kind of they started and what his role and how that all began.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Please, Robert.
Yeah, I won't go into too much detail because a lot of it started with me just harassing Dan and Simon over, you know.
I think it was the other way around, but that's okay.
Yeah, and then in turn after that, it's harassing all the colors to get some looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have
I can attest to that.
Yeah. We have a great talent pool, and as you said, a big history in cinema. And you know, when we were speaking to Sony about this, I think one of the things that Japan was really looking for was to take advantage of more of the film days. So film print emulation, and I won't even try to go into a full description of what it is. Jason can probably talk a bit more to that and how he uses it. But some of these LUTs, it's important to note that they are FPEs. So film print emulation, and they look pretty incredible. What you're seeing on the webinar doesn't do them justice. So when you actually get to play with them, they look pretty amazing with the FPEs. And then there's standard non-FPEs as well. Understand that, you know, not everyone's going to want that film print emulation. But yeah, it was just really sort of, like I said before, a labor of love. We discussed a lot of what to do. We went back and forth locally and with Japan, and decided that just to sort of get the audience reaction, let's get a small handful of looks. Initially, we were going to start with about 3 looks, I think, just to test the waters. And I think I don't know, we probably have
22?
A couple of handfuls for release.
Yeah.
Is that the number?
22, yeah. And that's
lucky
only
number.
the ones that we've That's right. Yeah, and that's only what we've delivered to you guys. There are a lot more in the works and in the background that that we'll be turning over as we go through more of this and bring in more colors in as well.
Nice. Jason, did you have any like references that you maybe pulled off of films that you've seen, or how do you get the ideas for these looks? Like, I know it's hard to
Yeah,
download your brain, but like,
again, yeah,
do
it's
you
kind of
watch
just
a
a
lot of movies,
combination.
obviously?
Yes. Yeah. I try and watch as much stuff as I can, just to get a good idea of what everybody's doing out there. It was kind of a combination of a lot of different things I've been working on, and again, it was just trying to apply it so that it would land on a lot of different stuff. As Robert mentioned, the film print emulation, it's literally simulates what it would look like had you shot on film, so it constricts the colors certain ways, makes reds and blues go certain directions that can't get too saturated. It makes the highlights warm like it would be a film light. So it literally, if you apply grain on top, it will look just like a film print. It's quite amazing. Just in a simple just push of a button and it's there.
It kind of reminds me of like just audio plugins back in the day when you would have just a keyboard and you would add these different sounds to the keyboard. This is kind of the visual version of that now. You know, you start off with a bass, you know, which is our S-Log, and then from there you can start adding all these different looks and translating it into a different look altogether. It's pretty amazing what you guys did, and thank you for all that hard work, Jason, on putting those together.
Oh yeah, no, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
the
you
whole
guys
point
went
is you
through
can
a lot of footage
through
that we
pick
shot
all kinds of different looks.
I do have a quick question. I mean, it's related, but when you do work with a DP and you're coming up with the looks of a project, what are some ways that you guys what is the discussion back and forth? I want it to look like Casablanca, or I want it to look like this. How does that discussion go?
It starts different ways. Some DPs come in and they know exactly what they want to look at. Some are actually pretty familiar with working with color correctors, and they actually play around at home on their, you know, if they have a Resolve or a version of Filmlight, there's a student version. So sometimes they come in with specific LUTs. Hey, I made this. Can we tweak on that? Other times I meet somebody for coffee or lunch, and they open a book with a bunch of different advertisements or references, just paintings, all kinds of stuff. They're like, you know, we kind of want it to feel like this, and we kind of want it to feel like this. So I'll take the book home with me and think about, okay, well, what do I need to do to apply that? And then we'll get some of their footage, and they'll come in the facility, and then we just kind of play around and figure out what works best for them. As Robert said, we have all kinds of in-house LUTs. We have an in-house color science team that can make me almost anything I want. If I just give them a few hints, say I want to combine maybe a bleach bypass in the low end with a color reversal in the high end, and they'll mix something together and make that work. So it comes various ways. And then sometimes it's just me coming up with, hey, what do you think will look cool? So we just play.
And
yeah.
Are you usually using Baselight, DaVinci? What are your tools?
I'm mainly on Resolve, but I can work on, I've worked on Baselight and I've worked on Luster before.
Well, let's ask what the audience is using. I kind of want to get an idea of what color corrected tools is everybody on the call using here. So we got a poll here just to kind of get an idea. Yep, just as we guessed it. We kind of toyed around with this question yesterday, and it seems that precisely what we thought would happen is happening here. So I'm going to close it out and then share the results with you guys.
Yeah,
so 84% DaVinci, 8% Baselight, 2% ColorFront, 26% Adobe, 2% Assimilate Scratch.
A lot of Adobe use.
But we only had 5 options.
Yeah, I'm not surprised and still surprised for some. I'm assuming that some are using Assimilate and ColorFront for onset and versus finishing. But yeah, it's again, surprised and not surprised.
So let's talk about
use
finishing in
basically all of them.
HDR. For you guys, what do you prefer, or do you have a preference? Do you do an HDR pass first, an SDR pass second, or vice versa, or does it matter for your workflow?
It's more, it's either studio or client driven. It's kind of, okay, what's your hero version? Is it a theatrical version? If that's the case, then that's what we start with first.
Okay.
If your streaming version that's on Netflix, then we'll start with HDR and then work our way from there.
Nice.
It also depends on the flavor of HDR, right? If it's Dolby Vision versus HDR10, HDR10, you have the flexibility of starting with either or. And part of what we were seeing with this too, like on set, like some of the footage that was shot, if you're monitoring HDR on set and working in HDR through post, you typically start with what you fall in love with, right? What you've been looking at for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was something that we found was interesting, that as much as we thought LUTs were just reference points, that ends up dictating how the final piece looks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's important to get that sort of set in the beginning so everybody's really happy with it. Because if you start with some, people tend to fall in love with what they've been staring at for a long time. So I've worked on shows where I wasn't involved with the look development, and I have to sort of coerce, fight everybody to, I'm like, you don't really want it to look like that. I know you guys liked that LUT originally, but we can make it look a lot better than that.
And we do have a couple of questions, Sam. Do you want me to kind of go through them, or you want to look at them?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll look at them as well.
Are the .arts readable on only the Venice, or can they be loaded into other Sony cameras, FX9, FX6? And are
No.
So, and then just the other question is, are the LUTs going to be available in the other cameras? So it's kind of a little bit of a different question, I think. The LUT versus the .art is a different, separate question.
Right. So the ARTs are only readable by Venice. So if you needed to use, if we wanted to use the Technicolor look collection, there are still the 3D LUTs that are provided with the download that you could actually import into other cameras, as long as they're outputting S-Log3, S-Gamma 3.Cine as their base curve. Then you could apply the Technicolor 3D LUTs to them. So the Rec 709 outputs as well would be available, but just not the ART files.
And then right along that line is, if you only receive the .art, say for dailies, edit media, is there a way to convert it to a .cube file?
It's a one-way process. It's from 3D Cube to ART. So if you have an ART, you need to go back to the person that generated that and ask them for the original 3D LUT.
Perfect. And then 3D null LUT with log output to live grade with live grade integration, I guess they're kind of together.
Okay. We will be providing specific S-Log3 ART files as well in the future, both for full and legal range. They'll be coming out soon as well.
And those could be used in other cameras, right? Like FX9.
Not the ARTs.
No, not the ARTs. I'm sorry, but the 3D LUTs that are coming out
Yes.
from Technicolor, the look collection.
And it does seem that we're taking a little heat for our overlook of luster. It seems like that is a popular program, and we apologize for not including that in the poll. I think, Sam, we should jump into the footage.
Yeah, I want to show the Sparkle footage next, and then maybe you guys could talk about that after we show it. But this was kind of a challenging shot because we did it outside. We obviously didn't have a police car with us, but we used a strobing light. And we're talking to Robert earlier, that strobing light effect, really hard to work with pretty much any camera. But with the Venice, we had really good results. So let me just show you what we're talking about here on that. And this was the exterior night scene that we did. And in the parking lot of the DMPC, by the way, just to add, we didn't have a set or anything. This was just the parking lot with the truck that was also alone.
Sam, it's officially the back lot of the DMPC.
Correct. It's the back lot. Yes, it's not the parking lot because there are no cars there anymore. So it's definitely a back lot.
You might want to mention that Sparkle's actually a color. Somebody might be confused.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That is the gold. Yeah, the golden FEP look by Sparkle the color.
You beat me to that point, Jason. Where Sparkle sounds like the description of the look, it's actually not. So yeah, Sparkle
Yeah,
is.
exactly. I thought somebody might think that's the sparkle effect. Well, it still is, but.
And then, so we're going to actually show you later on a behind the scenes of what we actually did to get that shot. But I want to share with you one more that was an exterior shot made by Maxine Gervais. Let me play that one as well. This is Magic Hour, La Hora Mágica.
Yeah, and you can see with a lot of these that people actually, some of the talent, they had fun with it, right? They went through and they actually really took their time to make the looks. And because we do have everything up to XYZ versions of these, we went through with various colorists just to make sure that they looked great.
Sorry, Robert, you got auto muted again.
No problem. I just last point was saying that we just took time to make sure that everything looked great, that nothing fell apart on from PQ or XYZ or anything.
And then we're gonna have HDR and SDR Lutz, right? For each one, each flavor, or each look.
That's correct.
Nice.
Yeah, there's the Rec 709 HDR PQ, I think 1000 nit, and then XYZs for all of them for theatrical distribution as well.
Beautiful.
And then Robert, we've shown some clips now, and we know that Jason, but it'd be great if we kind of outline all the colorists from Technicolor who participated.
Yeah.
Sure. And this is where I'm going to be terrible, and I'm sure I'll forget someone right off the bat. But Jason, John Fabro. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
It's a good nickname.
Or Stephen Arkle.
Stephen Arkle, exactly. Yeah, Sparkle. That's where that comes from. It's Stephen P. Arkle. That's what he would sign everything as, and then he just affectionately became known as Sparkle. Anyone in the industry that's been doing any coloring facilities probably just knows the name. Maxine Gervais, some of the footage that we just saw, she's another veteran of this industry, and if you look up any of their titles or any of their names on IMDb, you'll just see a list of titles that are impressive for all of them for episodic and theatrical. Ann Boyle is from our Vancouver location. And then I think Doug Delaney was the last one that put some stuff in here.
Everybody.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a mix of episodic and theatrical, but I think nowadays, because there's sort of that very thin line between them, no one is known as an episodic or theatrical colorist anymore. Everyone's just a colorist.
Yeah, we all pretty much do everything now.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking, and did we get Ann too? Ann Boyle?
Ann Boyle,
Yes.
Yep, from Vancouver. Yeah.
Oh, that's what you just said. I was looking through the list and trying to do that and listening at the same time, and that didn't work out so well.
Doug Delaney.
Nope. I appreciate the double check, Dan.
Well, yeah, Ann will appreciate it too. You mentioned her name twice, so
yeah,
appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Now I just wanted to show you a shot of directly from the Venice with just a regular 709 LUT that we did, and then we'll run the behind the scenes, and Dan will talk over that one. So this is an MP4 proxy of the Venice, just S-Log3 to 709. And for some reason, it's playing back choppy for me. I don't know if you guys had a choppy experience with that. So when you compare that to the LUTs that Sparkle created, totally different, amazing added look to that. All right. Robert, did you want to say anything to the effect of like how are you guys working with the DPs? Do you usually prefer, obviously, to work with them, and do you have usually that kind of relationship before the project starts?
We try to, and I think it's a little bit of like what Jason was talking to. Sometimes we're lucky enough that we get to work with the DPs and set looks before they even shoot their hair and makeup or camera tests. Other times we're seeing them way after the fact. Like we don't see them until we actually get the first day of dailies in, or the first day of DI. So yeah, whenever we can, we want to sit there either with the DP, you know, side by side. Pre-COVID days and you know, or close 6 feet apart post-COVID days, or we have a technology like TechStream and things that we also use with like the TVIPs and, you know, IP streaming basically, so we could set looks color accurately. So yeah, whenever possible, we want to do it, you know, with the DPs.
And the sooner we're involved in a project, the better it always goes. It's when we come in last minute on something, there's always going to be issues. If we can get in early and figure out the whole pipeline, that makes everything so much easier for everybody.
And you guys, for the HDR projects, do you recommend having HDR onset monitoring? Like we had the privilege to have that, of course, in the DMPC backlot. We had the two X300s, SDR, HDR, and then you know, we had a smaller monitor just for focus assist.
I highly recommend that, especially with HDR, because you're gonna be able to see and set your exposures and your lights based on that HDR image, your lighting ratios based on that HDR image. A perfect example is I've worked with a filmmaker before, a pre-production meeting, and they're like, well, we want to shoot HDR now, so what do we need to do to shoot HDR? And I'm like, well, you've actually been shooting HDR. The camera's, you know, high-end camera, it's exposing plenty of stuff for HDR. You've just been looking at it in SDR for the last few times.
You haven't unwrapped it, fully unwrapped it.
Set them up with a pipeline where it's okay. Well, now you look at this monitor and you can see what you're lighting to and what's available, what the range is. So yeah, I mean, being able to have that on set is pretty key. So you can adjust, again, lighting ratios and exposures based on catching parts of that sunset that maybe you didn't care about before and now look amazing in HDR, catching some of that low-end black that wasn't making it in SDR. Now you maybe want to put a little fill light down there so you can see a little more stuff going on. So yeah, that's highly recommended for sure.
Yeah, so when we show the behind the scenes, you guys see 3 monitors. It's not that we're just trying to see 3 different images. We actually have a reasoning behind that. So it's like, we got the 709 on one side, we got the PQ on the right-hand side, and then on the bottom we have just standard Rec 709 just for the focus. So yeah,
that's a great way to do it.
It would be very hard to not work like that. And I know that a lot of, you know, users, of course, because of the pricing of the monitors, which are dropping down, by the way. Now we have a 24-inch, the X2400 and the X1800, that are smaller onset HDR monitors that are options. But before, it was like a $50,000 monitor on set was not very likely. So, you know, even some of these smaller monitors now, you can see HDR on set. So it's definitely recommended, especially if your project is HDR. You don't want to get any surprises, right, when you get into the grading room.
Yeah, it would be great if we had a poll on SDR and HDR, Sam.
I think I do. I know you do. How do you know? Wow. All right, let's do that. Let's do this one. So, do you do an HDR pass before or after the SDR pass? So select one of the following there. Wow, numbers are coming up.
I think as this poll is going through here too, another point that I wanted to add to monitoring HDR on set is that I don't believe too many people are actually monitoring HDR through the edit process. So all that is still SDR Rec 709 for the most part. That's been pretty dominant with at least a project that we've been working at. I think in the past couple of years, there's only been a couple.
And I think as HDR becomes more and more used and accepted, you know, it's gonna show up in everybody's workflow a lot more. It's still a bit of a kid on the block, you know.
Yeah.
Do you see it moving forward in the process, moving further upstream?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think once filmmakers engage it a lot more and realize the range they can get on certain things, I think it's, you know, people are going to have that in their head when they're thinking about shots, and it'll become a lot more used.
So yeah, so these are the results of the poll. It looks like HDR first, then SDR is about 30%, then SDR first, then HDR is about 10%, and then a lot of people currently not shooting for HDR. But the nice thing about that is that if you're shooting with a Sony camera, you're shooting HDR, you just haven't taken one of these guys to actually take it and unwrap it for you, where you can see all of the true glory of that footage. So important part is to always try to shoot 10 bits or more. Shoot 16-bit, you're golden for several years, decades down the line. And then 10-bit would be, I guess, do you guys agree, the minimum for an HDR?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd say minimum for SDR. 8 bits causing all kinds of problems with guys and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I would try and stay at least 10, no matter what you do.
I agree.
And we have lots of products now that shoot minimum of 10 bits, so we're all very happy about that.
Yep.
That's just fine with us.
Yeah,
exactly. All the way down from, you know, from the A7S Mark III, the FX6, the FX9, the Venice, of course, shooting 16-bit internally with the R7. And then I do have the behind the scenes video that I wanted to show you guys, just to kind of take an idea. It took us about 2 days of prep, 2 days of shooting, full days. I mean, we were there from like what, Dan, 7 a.m. to like 10 at night, just to get. We had to shoot these same scenes about 6-7 different times, and it was worth it, because now we are going to be able to share this footage with you guys, so you can use it as test footage for when you're applying these LUTs. And you'll be able to download those as well from SonyCine.com. So later on, I want to show you guys what all of the new resources are on Sony Cine, like the FAQs, as well as the calculator, the Venice simulator menu as well. So if you haven't checked out SonyCine.com, definitely check it out. Let me go ahead and play this. This be our last video then. And it just gives you kind of a behind the scenes with David Frederick, who is our DP and was shooting those 2 long days.
There's the 3 monitors that Sam spoke about. That's the DMPC backlot.
That was a shot you guys saw that Sparkle's LUT.
And although there was no audio being recorded, we used that to be able to get really into character, so that we really feel the scene.
That's why the people in the car look so scared. The noise, that fear. You got the
They're worried the
animal
police were coming to shut down your shoot.
For Mistas.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, a good variety of lenses, and all of this will be available. So now it's really, it was a big investment of time and effort on everybody's part, but the idea was really to be able to give people different files to be able to look at in all different flavors. And
that was Little Park right across from the back lot of the DMPC. So that scene where she's bringing in the birthday cake.
Yeah, that's the DMPC backlot annex.
I love how quickly the DMPC backlot phrase has just taken off and been adopted.
Yeah, well, you see the video village in there? That was thanks to Katie for setting that up with Ben. We got a little bit of village there with the 3 monitors.
And what's
And that was the
amazing is
same
we
shot
use
you
both.
used for
We use
Maxine's
this
Lutz,
location
right?
to get the early test shots.
Okay.
Cutting.
Beautiful.
Jason, what was that?
Oh, I was just saying that was the same shot you used to show all of Maxine's Lutz, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
That was the magic hour shot with the birthday cake. And I think we have one more poll here that I wanted to share with you guys, just to get an idea of what you're mostly interested in for future webinars. So launch that, and we have everything from camera technology, workflow solutions, virtual production, lenses and filters, tips and tricks about digital cinematography, and you can choose more than one. All right, great. This is great information for us to, continue to provide these types of webinars for you guys. So interesting. Let me share the results with you guys here. So we got 73% camera technology, workflow solutions, virtual production, and then 50% lenses and filters, and tips and tricks about 73%. So great.
We do have a couple of questions regarding Sony Cine in particular.
Okay.
SonyCine.com, that is. That's where all the LUTs are going to live, correct? We're going to put all of the
Correct.
footage, everything will be available through SonyCine.com. Not quite yet. I think people are trying to download yet, and they're getting errors, so it's not just
it's not available yet. It should be available by the end of the week. Yeah, we're still finishing up a couple of things, and just the organization of it is a long process. So, big shout out to everybody on the Sony Cine team, to Laura, to Katie, everybody who's working on the behind the scenes to make this all happen. It's a real team effort. So thank you, everyone. And then I'm going to show you guys just one
quick thing, Samuel. This session will be available as well, correct? We'll make this available. Yeah. Okay. And before we jump into that, version 6, the menu simulator now does have version 6. Is that correct, Simon?
Correct, yeah, it supports version 6.
Okay.
So you guys can see my screen here. You guys able to see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then here we have resources, great resources, and then under LUTs is where you would be able to find all of the LUTs. And then also on the main page, of course, you'll have information on who created all these LUTs. There are really cool tools here like the Venice file size calculator, where you can select the resolution that you want to work with, the frame rate, what kind of codec you're working with, and then it'll tell you, how much time you want to record, and then it'll tell you how many cards you need. So it's really cool to have that type of calculator always available for you, as well as you got your Venice simulator, which will let you use and learn about the menu of the Venice, from the comfort of your own home or tablet or your phone. It just gets you used to it if you have a big project coming up with Venice and you want to have that. As well as Shot on Venice. We have a ongoing list, latest ones here. A couple from Apple, Netflix, Showtime, Cobra Kai, Big Sky, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. A lot of really great features and series shot with the Venice. So definitely check those out. And Dan, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I got a question. There was a note. Who that behind the scenes looked fabulous. Who is the cinematographer and what camera was used?
I was a cinematographer, and I would like to apologize for the shakiness. I didn't have a steady cam or a gimbal or anything, but it was all handheld, shot with the new Sony FX6. So yeah.
But if you wanted to, you'd be able to go to post-production to be able to stabilize that, wouldn't you?
I could if I had time. Yeah, definitely. So
there was a question on
the like Dan mentioned, is the stabilization metadata on the cameras. So I was able to stabilize some of it. It didn't look so shaky, but a couple of them I just couldn't, because I was really running around and trying to avoid getting hit with the camera as David was coming in with the dolly. I was just like, oh, better move back here. So but yeah.
And there was a call out that the new Alpha 1 camera is also capable of 10-bit internal.
That's right.
We're all very happy that again, I think when you look at the Sony cameras, the idea that we're building in the inspiration of Venice, the colorimetry, the looks, the slog3.cine, all of those things to allow you to use different tools in either combination with each other or on their own if that's the right camera for the right project. So it's really an exciting time where we're taking big tools that are the big expensive tools and smaller ones, and many times we have a lot of productions that are out shooting with A7S3s right now in combination with Venice for those specialty cameras, and we're hearing good reports back that because it's a Sony camera and it's high quality and it kind of has that inspiration from Venice that they're able to match those. So it's really a super time, and all these things are coming together where tools, depending on budget and size, we have a tool for it. One other question was, what we said I noticed when the LUTs are ready for everybody to download.
I can actually, with the reminder, if you're registered to this webinar, and then in the next reminder, there'll be a link there, but just check back at Sony Cine by the end of the week. There should be something up there by then.
Right.
And then also there's a new version of firmware coming soon that Laura would like to mention on the Venice. So it's a 6 dot something, but it's just going to basically cover. Simon, do you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, we just learned about a version 601 releasing imminently. It's a bug fix for something I've never heard of. Apparently on power on, there's a potential for the side display to lock up, which would require a reboot just to correct it. And apparently it's happened very, very, very rarely. So I've never heard of that problem occurring, but
yeah, I didn't
there will
either.
be a fix coming out for that.
Nice.
It's very, very minor.
Well, it's good to know that there are fixes. Yeah.
We're constantly going through QA on Venice anyway. So they found this after probably 10,000 cycles or something. So they fixed it.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. Sam, if you let me share my screen,
yeah,
Laura
please.
just sent me a PDF of an overview of all the different looks. Just
yes,
based on
that'd be awesome.
So this is going to go onto Sony Cine. This is just an overview of all the different looks that you can get with the Technicolor look collection.
Oh, we lost it.
You lost it?
Yeah.
It's too late.
As you're trying to bring that back up, Simon, I'm curious about with the RAW viewer. You could still apply these LUTs, right, and sort of audition the files right within there, since you're going to have the sample files available. Yeah. We found a couple things with some of the different color systems, so that I think, again, it's going to be documented, but if not later with the videos or more information, just always making sure that we were working with everything set to slog3, sgamma3.cine in the color corrector, especially those of you, it seems like a lot of you are familiar with DaVinci Resolve, using a color managed workflow gave us the optimal results versus leaving it in the standard DaVinci YRGB Rec 709. Very different looks, and always use RAW viewer as your sort of control if there's a question about debayering.
Yeah, if you're not in that mode, you'll be locked out of being able to set it to the right input.
That's a very good point, guys. And let's talk, I mean, I know we're talking about color here, but let's talk about black and white. What do you guys think about the Venice's rendition working with black and white? Or what would be the best way to go about it? Let's say somebody wants to work on a black and white project. Do you recommend using a LUT? Do you recommend?
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
Go ahead.
Obviously you want to have something on the back end, so you're viewing it in what will be the final product. So whenever color, black and white doesn't make a difference, you still want to have it looking whatever tonal range you want to ultimately land in, and that's what you use as a reference when you're lighting and exposing anything. For sure, yeah. I mean, it's just grayscale values as opposed to colors. You still want to get those grayscale values where you want them to ultimately be.
And do you see some maybe tending to use brown and white, or maybe yellowish white?
Yeah, it just depends. We have, if you want to like tint it, depending on what kind of black and white look you're going for. If it's like within a show that's color, maybe there'll be a black and white sequence that's it's there to create a mood or effect, so you may warm it up a little bit, because black and white can just be kind of stark by itself, so you may want to put a little warmth in.
Yeah.
Or if you're trying to make it stark, you may want to cool it off.
Nice.
And we
Thanks for
are
that
taking
advice.
requests, right? So if there's a request for looks for the collection in there, yeah.
Yeah, if
Nice.
anybody wants a specific thing, we can certainly cook that up for them back here.
Nice. I see that. Like, I like that. I like that.
Is your desktop ready, Simon? Are you going to share again, or I'm sorry? I'm still looking at your
Back to the
desktop.
desktop.
Can you see that now?
Now
Yeah.
we
I think
can
you got
see
it
it, yeah.
work. Yeah, it was
So
working
is that
there.
all, that's all 22 then?
It
Those
should
are all
be,
the-
yes.
Okay, and then there's a little description there. It's hard to see, but those will all be on Sony Cine. You can check them out. You can actually see the details and a description of each one.
So I think, like in most things, the shooting of was the fastest and easiest. The post production is amazing. It takes a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
anybody, the whole fix it and post thing, you got to get it right at the front, and then spend your time on post getting it just right.
well, it's making sure that they function properly in your color corrector of choice as well, right? We didn't want to just put something out there that was going to work great for resolve, but then break in base light.
Yeah.
And there wasn't. I think we got that we got a question. Can these work on only Sony cameras, specifically the FS7? Now we know the .arts don't work in the FS7, but are the LUTs available?
Yes. Yes, so you could use the Rec 709. That's yes. As long as you're outputting S-Log3, sgamma3.cine as your starting point.
Awesome. I'm just looking at the questions here. So says, has the Venice menu simulator been updated for version 6.0?
Yes.
Not, has it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Great. So that was a good answer. And then available for FX9, yes. And then I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we covered everything
covered
in the
all the
questions,
questions.
Sam. They asked FX9, and again, yes, the LUT, no, the .art file. Try X reversal for black and white, please, is one of the requests.
Okay.
I've
We
never
can do
Jason will
tried.
have to put that in the oven for us for next time.
You have to go to the store and get some more ingredients.
Yeah.
All out of yeast.
So yeah, speaking of ingredients, let's just clarify on the baked in, because some people don't understand that in the camera options of all of our cameras, there's an option to record the LUT on the memory. It doesn't necessarily say baked in the menu, right? But if it does bake it in, that means that your LUT is already on that file and that you'll have less flexibility in post. So if you do want to work with LUTs, it'd be good to monitor it, but not record it.
Yeah.
Right? You guys agree with that recommendation? Let's always try to record
You
RAW or
never
S-Log3.
want to bake in that LUT. I mean, for
Yeah.
your offline, for your editorial, yes.
Yeah.
When you come in the color bay, no. We'll have that LUT at the back end, and that way I can grade before it or after it or anywhere in line. If you bake it in, then that's where we start from. So yeah.
So you're pretty much trapped at that point to that look then.
I mean, granted, right? if you do that by mistake and ultimately that's what you want, it's not a bad place to start from. But as you said, there's not a lot of flexibility from a baked in image.
And I think we mentioned earlier that you have to be careful on what image you're showing to the executives, and because they tend to fall in love with it. That's what you're going to end up with. So spending a good amount of time on the front end and making sure what they're seeing is really important, because they end up just saying, "It doesn't look like the other one." And it just seems like that's kind of the new thing that we're starting to hear.
Yeah, for sure. And even for anybody, for a cinematographer, if you pick something and then that's what your director's been looking at the entire time in the edit bay, and you said, and you really didn't, you're like, I kind of like it, but you know, we'll just do something quick and easy to get it done. There's a very good chance your director's going to love that image, and then when you get in the DI suite with them, they're going to be like, no, I want it to look like that, and there's a whole fight. So yeah, make sure you're happy with what you bake in.
Definitely.
Yeah. Those are
And
very
so one of the
uncomfortable
nice things about
conversations
Venice
to
is
have.
that you can record 6K and 4K, and then you can have that 4K also with an S-Log. Of course, your 6K will be XOCN or RAW. But then a lot of times, if you want a ProRes file, you can add a LUT to that ProRes file. That could be your editorial or your dailies, and then you always have that XOCN to work off of in the S-Log or S-Gamut workflow. And then one question about ACES. Do you guys come across workflows that are partially done in ACES, completely done in ACES? And if so, what do you prefer? Like, would you rather be 100% ACES or just a little bit here and there?
We get both. I personally prefer having ACES on the front end and then having it open on the back end. That gives us a lot more flexibility. We can do either, but there is a lot more flexibility by not being bookended by ACES.
Nice.
So then we have our own color science team, and they can come up with certain looks that'll work outside of ACES so that we can do whatever we want on the back end. But the front end of ACES I love because, you know, you get various cameras, you have 4 different VFX facilities working on it. You have one common format. Everybody knows what to put it in. And when it comes to us, everything works. And then we can modify the back end to whatever we want. We've also come up with ways where if you have to deliver ACES and you're not necessarily happy with some of the back end of ACES, we've come up with ways to sort of do stuff in the middle to get you in a place where you're happy and then you're still ACES compliant. So nice. I guess the answer to that is we can do either easily.
And I think
we've had to do all of the above.
And I think Robert, that's a big part of what you get to end up doing is getting in the middle of those conversations with the different parties involved in making those decisions.
Yeah, I always like to make the joke that ACES is another 4-letter word, right? It's it just one of those things that always gets us in trouble. But it's also important to know that, like what Jason's saying about the ACES front end, that's 100% possible without ACES as well with transforms, right? You could convert things from different camera formats or different camera log encoding into S-Log if you want to start off with a common color space. ACES absolutely makes it simple because everyone speaks the same language. But yeah, sometimes they're not doing ACES on the front end, but they need an ACES deliverable on the back end, or someone switches something in the middle. ACES only really works if you're start to finish ACES. Otherwise, we have some very creative ways to make it work and keep it compliant. But yeah, it's challenging. 4-letter word.
So in the end, I guess it's best to start out on what are deliverables and then working together with you guys backwards on figuring out where are the best places to interject whatever flavor it is to make sure that you're getting what their end results or their deliverables are.
Yeah, it's 100% accurate. I learned very early on in my career that I had to work backwards. I had to figure out what people needed on the back end delivered, and then figure out how to make that happen on the front end. So it's, yeah, if you need an ACES compliant deliverable, you should definitely start talking to us or your post house about that as early as possible.
And we have a couple more questions, and I know we're over. Sam, did you want to? Yeah, do those?
I see one here that about the LUT. I think I can answer this one. Should we use a 66 LUT as a source for ART to avoid banding, or is 32 enough? I would say 66. Simon, what would you say?
We're getting very, very good results with the 33 cubes that Technicolor are providing us. But obviously, the bigger you go, the more accurate it's going to be. But at minimum, it's 33.
Okay.
65 if you desire that.
And then, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, all of ours are 33 cubes that we put for this. And I think a really quick thing to point out there is that the banding limitation, or the what fixes the banding, is actually with the ART and the camera. That's not when you're using the cubes in the color corrector. You're taking advantage of some of the processing in camera to fix that banding for monitoring.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And then here we have so the idea is put one of these LUTs on a Venice shot would match a B camera FX9. Yes. that would be the idea. If we're all shooting in sgamut.cine, make sure that both cameras are in sgamut.cine. If you're shooting sgamut full, then make sure that both cameras are shooting sgamut full. All right.
I think that ends most of the questions. Any of those we didn't get to, we can pick up offline and email you guys directly.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, guys, for being part of the first 2021 DMPC webinar series, and looking forward to working with you guys in the future. And then stay tuned to SonyCine.com later this week. We'll have those LUTs for you to download, so check it out.
And send us your request.
Yes,
keep them coming.
And then there are some handouts also from Technicolor. You guys should check out if you don't have them already. There are some handouts. I guess I'll let Robert, the HDR Field guide, that was something you guys put together as a kind of a glossary, right? More like
a little glossary of some of the common terms that we did for an HDR Summit, our finishing services that are available at Technicolor. RAW viewer help is from you guys, self-explanatory. And the VFX one sheet are just some of the VFX services that are out there at Technicolor. So all worth a good look.
Great. Thanks for providing those to the viewers. And thanks again for watching, you guys. We won't keep you too long. We know this is just a 1-hour webinar, and thanks for staying with us. So I'll see you next time. Take care.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.